Memphis Grizzlies, Golden State Warriors, Dub Nation in Memphis, Grind City last night. Gary Payton going up for a layup. Dillon Brooks, the word that I want to use is attacked Gary Payton from behind. And at the end of the play, Gary Payton winds up with a broken elbow. Dillon Brooks winds up getting ejected on a flagrant 2. And my question is the NBA allowing too much of this? Now, obviously, Dillon Brooks was suspended. Everybody was saying it's a playoff foul. Totally get that. Hey, man, I grew up in the 80s and 90s with the Pistons and Bulls. Trust me, I know physical basketball. This was a dirty play. And I don't know, is Dillon Brooks a dirty player? I'm not going to say that. I don't know. This was a dirty play. You knocked a guy out for likely 3 to 6 weeks with a broken elbow in Gary Payton II. He is a vital contributor off the bench for the Golden State Warriors. Dillon Brooks should not play in the rest of this series, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I think he should be suspended for the next 5 games. And that's being generous because it looks like Gary Payton's going to be out for the rest of the second round at minimum. And probably if the Warriors move on, which I suspect they will, if the Warriors move on, Gary Payton's going to miss the semis as well. Jake, is that too harsh of a penalty for Dillon Brooks?
Yeah, I think that it's justice to, suspend Dillon Brooks for the rest of the series. I do think that is justice. Now, what do I think will actually happen? I think he'll get 3 games for this. That's just my opinion based on what we've seen in the past and based on the time of year that this is happening. So the whole, hey, this is a playoff foul thing, I think is a big, big deal in this conversation with what Dillon Brooks did. Because if this had happened, like take a look at the Grayson Allen, Alex Caruso incident. This Dillon Brooks incident is damn near on that same level. Now, I think the Grayson Allen thing was definitely a step further than what Dillon Brooks did. Don't get me wrong. I do think it was a step further.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I think it was a step further what Grayson Allen did versus what Dillon Brooks did.
I think Dillon Brooks is far more lethal than the Grayson Allen tried to commit a grab foul. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it better. Dillon Brooks was running from behind a guy who never saw him. While that guy was in the air, Dillon Brooks took a full swing, hit him in the head.
Yeah.
Number one, never got the ball. So this BS on Twitter last night that, Dillon Brooks was going for the ball. Grayson Allen wasn't, and Grayson's a piece of shit.
But I think that matters, though. That's what I was going to say.
But he wasn't going for the ball.
But that might be true. The problem is with the way the play, the way the play went down. This is why I say that I think Dillon will only get 3 games. Because the way the play went down, like you were just saying, is it's a chase down block situation. So Gary Payton II is going up. He's trying to finish, and Dillon gets him. And Dillon did not pull any punches, obviously. He swung as hard as he could. You can claim he was going for the ball, but in my opinion, no player's ever getting to that basketball in that situation. No. So that's why I say I don't think that defense works.
And Dillon Brooks knew he was never getting to that basketball.
And that's the other thing, too, that I think is really relevant. That's a great point. We all know who Dillon Brooks is. Not to say that he's a dirty player, but it's not a stretch to say that Dillon Brooks is a physical guy, is somebody that as the cool kids say, wants all the smoke. Like, he's the guy that is a bully out there. He is I would say a big boy version of like a Pat Bev, who's a pest and wants to bully you and do all this stuff. So again, when I saw this play, I was like, yeah, that's a dirty play, in my opinion. It's not a playoff foul, but I think in parlance of this conversation, he's not going to get like 10 games for this. He's going to get 3 games, I think, which is perfectly just, in my opinion, because I don't think this series is going 7. And I think at the end of the day, that's just what it is. And I think what a lot of people are going to have issue with is if Dillon Brooks gets 3 games, that puts him back in this series at, game 6, right? He'd be suspended for 3, 4, and 5, and he's back for game 6, which is, we know game 5 is super pivotal, so he'll miss that, and then he's back for the last 2. So that's how I think the league will handle it. But what do I think they should do? I think, they should suspend him the rest of the series just to do it justice, because the Warriors are not going to have GP2. He's done. It's over. So that's what I think should happen. But to be clear, I do think it was a dirty play. There was no reason to hit him the way you did. There just was no reason for it.
He should not play again in this series. And I don't think that's over the top. I think Gary Payton, GP2, is a really important player for the Dubs. And I think that this was intentional. I think this is retaliation for the flagrant foul from Draymond Green. And I think that there needs to be a serious penalty handed down. Part of this also is that the NBA embraces this kind of play.
Yes.
They like this kind of play. This is good for TV.
But it's a fine line.
It's a very fine line, but this is good for TV.
It is.
But in my opinion, having a guy winding up with a broken arm, essentially a broken elbow, that cannot be tolerated. And at some point, you have got to step up and say, nah, this isn't enough. And by the way, this is not Dillon Brooks' first foray down the road of dirty basketball.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Right? I mean, this is also a guy who has dove on an ankle. Like this is getting repetitive now.
Yeah.
And to me, the NBA has to step up and do something. And I think suspending him 5 games is appropriate. I think you suspend him the rest of this series. And if it only goes, 3 more games, if this doesn't go 5 games, great. He takes 2 games off to start next year. Whatever it is, 5 games feels appropriate to me because I understand that people felt like Draymond Green should have got another game. He didn't. That doesn't justify Dillon Brooks' action here.
And it's not like, dude, I don't even like this comparison between the Dillon Brooks foul and the Draymond foul. The Draymond foul, dude was never getting hurt on that play. That was not happening. And yes, is it illegal to grab someone's jersey like that and pull them down? Absolutely. Absolutely. But let's not sit here and say that Draymond's foul was somehow on the same level as Dillon Brooks. It's just not in the same. It's not in the same atmosphere of that. And I think that the difference is that Draymond has credibility in the league, like it or hate it. Draymond has been around a long time, and Draymond knows how to commit hard fouls without breaking a guy's arm. And I'm not exaggerating. I can't definitively say that about Dillon Brooks. I think that Dillon Brooks is a guy who gets heated. He is a guy who very much plays on emotion, and that's how he's made his name in the league. I like what he brings to the table. He's a guy that I want on my team, and if he's not on my team, I hate him. That's just what it is. So that's why I say, let's not compare this to other fouls. Let's not beat around the bush. This guy ended dude's season likely. Let's not exaggerate. If they lose this series, if the Dubs lose this series to Memphis, you ended that guy's season. You ended that guy's first playoff run. That's a problem. That is a problem. So next year when these two face off again, I doubt the Warriors will forget about this, So that's why I say, I understand the league needs to allow physical play. I get it, but there's a fine line, and you can't have people getting attacked in midair like that from behind. I'm all for the face-to-face, go at a guy, try to dunk on someone that, gets physical that way, because guys are pretty much in control of how they fall down at that point. But when you hit a guy from behind, you're putting him in a very, very precarious situation.
Yeah, I think you're asking for trouble if you do not suspend Dillon Brooks significant amounts of time here. I think, by the way, it should be said, the Golden State Warriors are one of the most popular teams in the NBA. The Memphis Grizzlies are not. The sad thing about this foul, it's overshadowing one of the best performances I think I've probably ever seen.
Yeah.
And certainly in the modern era of NBA basketball, Ja Morant was out of his skull last night.
Sensational.
Yeah. So for all the idiots who were like, "Oh, the Memphis Grizzlies are better without Ja,"
get the fuck out.
Where are you now? Where are you? That's such a good job.
Hey, man.
I love that. By the way, speaking of overrated TV shows, Entourage is not on that list.
Yeah.
Entourage is amazing. Anyway, my point is,
yeah,
they're not better without Ja. Ja Morant is a stud.
Yeah.
I have a lot of energy today. And the point is, Ja Morant's amazing. 47 points last night, 2 45-plus point games in a playoff run, ties a record. By the way, Kobe's got that record, LeBron's got that record, and now Ja's got that record. The guy's playing out of his mind. And my feeling is that this is going to wreck. If Dillon Brooks gets suspended, if Dillon Brooks is out for the rest of this series, I think Golden State should win this series. I mean, they're going to miss GP2. There's no doubt about that. That guy, again, you want to talk about guys flying under the radar with their contributions. He absolutely was an underrated performer for the Golden State Warriors, and they're going to have to find a way to compensate for not having GP2. And it would help if somebody got, Jordan Poole a pair of shoes that didn't have wheels on the bottom, so he wasn't on skates in the paint when he was facing the entire wrong direction.
I'll drop that motherfucker.
Did you guys see that?
Dude.
Of course you did.
Dude.
Ja Morant put Jordan Poole in the wrong direction. Jordan Poole, completely turned the wrong way, was looking in the wrong direction.
The half spin
Oh my
fade
God.
is just a lethal move, man.
Who wins this series?
A big part of me believes the Warriors will win this series, and that just is because of the experience they have. And I thought, I can't remember where I heard this, but I was listening to something the other day where they were kind of talking about how important experience is. And it's like, experience to the level that the Warriors have it just allows you to be calm throughout the playoffs. I mean, it's like, it's like this whole analogy of like when you have experience, you don't need to use your GPS program when you're driving somewhere, right? Like, all the roads, how fast to go, when to get over, like, you know how to do all that stuff. When you don't have experience, you need the GPS and you're kind of reacting to it as it tells you what to do. And so I kind of think that experience will play itself out here. But this is where, to be clear, this is where, the Steph Currys and the Klay Thompsons and the Jordan Pooles need to step up, and not to say they've played bad, but the Warriors are going to need 30-point a night Jordan Poole. The Warriors are going to need, going crazy Steph Curry to win this series.
If we're being honest, the Warriors are going to need Klay Thompson not to travel in a critical moment in that
Agreed.
game.
Agreed.
That travel call on Klay Thompson
And
last
it was
night
a travel.
It absolutely was a travel. It ended that game, and I think that's the question that I have. I think that's the lingering concern about the Golden State Warriors is, are they that guy again?
Mm-hmm.
Are they that team that Steph can catch fire and, Klay can catch fire and Dre's running the point, and are they still that team? Like Wiggins, that body bag for Wiggins last night was unbelievable.
Is this the time?
I mean, Andrew Wiggins is playing really good basketball right now, yet they're losing. And I understand Memphis is a tough place to go. I understand that they got to win early in this series, and that's huge.
Yeah,
I don't disagree that Golden State did their job.
Yeah.
I think there's still questions that linger about how lethal that team is.
The rack attack!
And I'm curious now, because fouls like this and injuries like this do one of two things. They galvanize your team, everybody rises to meet the occasion, and you roll on. Or it hurts you, and you don't have an answer for that. I mean, we're still talking about, by the way, should Jordan Poole or Steph Curry be starting?
Yeah.
Like that. There are still unanswered questions on this club as they head back to Chase Center in the Bay for games 3 and 4. And I think game 3 is a critical game.
Yeah.
Frankly, 3 and 4 are a critical game. You cannot lose game 3 or 4 in this series. You cannot lose at home if you're Golden State.
Yeah.
You have to have an air of invincibility about you. And frankly, right now, I don't know that Golden State does.
Yeah, you got to go back to Memphis up 3-1. I mean, that's the mission. That's the goal of this team. And look, I think again, the experience thing is a big deal right now. I think Memphis going on the road and trying to play in Chase Center, I don't know that they can handle that. Like, look at the Milwaukee series. Look at the absolute ass kicking that was handed out in the Milwaukee series a couple days ago. That was surprising by anybody's measure, and I'm telling you, it's because of the home road splits. The home team in the second round has big time advantages. And the other thing I'd point to is last night. This foul happens, they're battling, Klay travels, all this stuff is going down. All this adversity hits the Warriors. You only lost by 5 points.
Yeah, crazy.
It's not like you lost by 15.
Crazy.
So that's why I say this team is very much in this series. I just think that they need to go home. They need to win by 10 in game 3, and then win by 2 or 3 in game 4, and then go back to Memphis.
Yeah, the Milwaukee series is interesting because Giannis ante your mama.
Giannis.
I believe that's the proper
We
pronunciation.
know his name is Giannis.
Phonetically.
Don't comment that we're saying his name
Pronouncing it phonetically and stuff.
Jesus.
The point is, I wonder if Giannis is that dude this year because, well, okay.
I say he is.
I'm curious if he is because these first 2 games of the Boston series have not gone the way that Fear the Deer had hoped. And I feel like you're seeing why Boston is the best defensive team in the NBA. And I feel like Jason Tatum is that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Jaylen Brown keeps grabbing his hamstring.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
But he was in the first half. I mean, Jaylen played really well. And I just look in total at the defensive effort that the Boston Celtics put out last night. I look at this without Marcus Smart, the now defensive player of the year. I'm amazed that they were able to be, speaking of physical, they were able to be so physical with Giannis.
Yes.
And it impacted Giannis. And he wasn't able to take that one leap from the free throw line and dunk the basketball last night. He continues to do this stuff where he throws the ball off the backboard. Hey, that's all well and good. You got beat by 20. So I don't know. How much confidence do you have that Giannis can carry them past Boston?
Well, I think that, I think it's a really interesting situation. How much confidence do I have? I mean, I think it's probably 60%. I think it depends how Giannis decides to play the game. I agree with you that this whole dynamic where he's throwing it off the backboard to himself, I think is a savvy play. All the greats have done it. LeBron's done it. Kobe's done it. Like, a bunch of guys have done it. It's not new to the league, but what I think that Giannis needs to do, and I think the adjustments you will see made are he needs to start moving the ball a little bit. He needs to use himself as a decoy, get the defense to collapse and get the ball to the corner because that team thrives when they've got the corner 3 going.
Well, and it was a little surprising that Lopez was so pedestrian last night.
Yeah.
Brook Lopez looked frustrated to me to only give them 2 points. I'm a little surprised. He took 2 shots last night. Brook Lopez played 25 minutes and took 2 shots and scored 2 points.
That tells you right there, just his box score. That tells you they weren't playing their brand of basketball. They were playing the Boston Celtics brand of basketball. Who else took a low amount of shots last night?
I mean, everybody. Holiday only had 6 3-pointers. He was 1 of 6.
Okay,
Some
so
other
he was
numbers
1 of
that
6.
stand out, like Bobby Portis only shot the ball 7 times for 13 points. I look at Matthews stepping in, obviously for Chris Middleton, who for the first time last night watching that game, I was like, they missed Chris Middleton. He took 2 shots and scored 4 points. But I also look at guys playing major minutes off the bench. Grayson Allen played 28 minutes and scored 5 points.
Yeah, and he's not been good since their last series.
I look at Carter, committing just stupid fouls and turnovers.
Yeah.
I mean, they miss Chris Middleton. And so this is why I go to the conversation about is Giannis that guy? Because I know he's good. I know he's an MVP. Obviously, he's a stud.
Yeah, I mean, he's in the conversation every single year now being the best guy in the league.
Right, but is he the guy that you can just say, okay, go win me the game?
Well, I think if you're in a 1 to 3 possession game, yeah, I think you can. But I think that he's not the guy that's gonna, like, last night is a good example. Last night they're just getting their ass kicked. Like, there's no way around that. You're just getting dominated. And there was at the beginning of the fourth quarter, I thought that he made a good decision by getting to the line. Hey, you're down 20, stop the clock, make free throws. The problem is Giannis isn't a gifted shooter. It doesn't come naturally to him.
That's
it's something
right.
he's had to work on. So he was missing his free throws last night. So, okay, maybe that's one game. Maybe that's a one-off, whatever. My point just is that when I think about guys who can bring their team back from a deep deficit, 15, 20, 25, just those type of deficits, you need the ability to be a gifted scorer. You got to be able to hit that mid-range with authority. And Giannis can hit it, but he's not hitting it at the rate of like KD or Book or Chris Paul.
And the other thing when I hear you say that, that's very true. I agree with that. It is forced.
Yeah.
But I also think there's a lot of Celtics that it's forced. Like Derek White is struggling.
Yes.
Like desperately struggling. like, I look at the contributions they got last night. You look at Grant Williams scoring 21 points. What did they win by? 23. He scores 21. Derek White doesn't score a single point. Jalen and Tatum both score, 29 and 30 points apiece. Like,
you're getting 60 out of 2 guys.
Right,
That's
but
not good
was
enough.
this a freak show for Boston? Because Boston did not play well in game 1. Was this a freak show, or is this who they are? I also love what they got out of Robert Williams. Obviously, he's playing incredible ball for them, and he's an important – to give them 11 and 11.
Well, I think there's aspects. So, like, as far as whether this was a freak show or not. So, the defensive stuff on Giannis is not a freak show.
No, not at all.
That is who they are. The 20 points out of what's his face? Not Williams, the other guy. Or is that Williams? I can't.
Grant?
Grant Williams, number 12.
Yeah,
Sorry,
Grant
man.
Williams.
Sorry, man. It's early.
Are you okay?
Yeah, number 12, Grant Williams.
Grant Williams.
To get that level of production is not a nightly thing for him. It's not. You got a good game out of him. But look, I think you're going to see a lot of adjustments from Mike Budenholzer to this Bucks team. Like, they're going to start moving the ball more. Drew Holiday needs to be involved more. Like Giannis needs to understand that it's not just him versus the Celtics, that it's their team. He needs to get the ball moving.
Well, and you can't play 7 guys.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that worries me about Boston. They play 7 guys. If you look at who they really play off the bench, it's Williams and Pritchard. And I just don't know how long they can go without Marcus Smart. If Marcus Smart's not going to play meaningful minutes in the next couple of games, they're going to come home and they're going to be trailing in this series.
Yeah.
Because I think they're going to have to move heaven and earth to win in Milwaukee.
There's going to be a 20-point loss in Milwaukee. Like, you just need to know that.
They need Marcus Smart back. And I know that he is not somebody you count on to shoot the ball or whatever, but the toughness, the defense, and the little things that he does offensively, they're going to miss that in Milwaukee. And so I think you take him out of the equation. That means you're only playing 7 guys. That means your rotations are different. I just think it's a recipe for disaster if you're Boston. You can't, in my opinion, play the way they played this year and go out in the second round and feel good about that. You're in a first-year situation with your head coach. Obviously Brad Stevens is still trying to put his stamp on this club. This is a really critical moment in time for this team.
Yes.
Because we've heard all the talk about, does Jalen and Jason work together? Are those 2 guys? Like, are we trading, Jalen? Like, we've heard all of that. Are we keeping Marcus Smart? What are we doing? Like, if you go to the Eastern Conference Finals, you're not changing a thing on this team. You're only upgrading. So it'll be interesting to see. And by the way, it'd be nice if Derek White started playing decent basketball again.
Yeah.